يلا سوبر شو يبدأ. هذا الليفر يا السادة، هذه الحمرة يا السادة، يا كاتب التاريخ لا تغلق الصفحات.
الأساطير يصفقون، ريال مدريد يقدم لوحة تليق به.
حلقتنا هالمرة مع هاري ريدناب، أحد أميز المدربين الإنجليز. نعم، ما يمتلك نجاحات كبيرة من ناحية تحقيق البطولات، ولكن هو محبوب من الجماهير الإنجليزية. هو يعتبر كاركتر، يعني هو شوي مرح وروحه مرحة ومحبوب من الجماهير الإنجليزية لعدة أسباب، سواء من تواضع هذا المدرب أو من ناحية تطوير اللاعبين الإنجليز. طبعا بدايته كانت مع نادي بورموث، حقق لهم العديد من النجاحات مثل الصعود، مثل الاستقرار اللي صار بالفريق، أيضا تصعيد بعض العناصر، ولكن بنهاية مسيرته عانى النادي ماليا، فبالتالي اضطر انه يغادرهم. ولكن النجاح ودائما مذكور له اكثر شيء مع نادي وستهم. نادي وستهم صراحه اخذنا بعض القصص مع هذا المدرب وهو كان سعيد، يعني استذكرنا قصته مع دي كانيو، ما راح احرق عليكم، راح تشوفونه بالحلقه وراح نحط لكم لقطات تشير لما حصل في هذه اللقطه. خصوصا دي كانيو من اللاعبين اللي شخصيته صعبه جدا، كل مكان يسبب مشاكل، في ايطاليا في انجلترا، ولكن هذا المدرب شرح لنا شلون قدر يحتويه وشرح لنا الطرائف اللي صارت ما بينه وما بين هذا اللاعب. بالاضافه ان اهم شيء صار في مسيرته مع وستهم مو بس انهم كانوا يعانون من الهبوط، ايضا هو صعد العديد من العناصر وكانوا عمود فقري مهم جدا لهذا النادي، وايضا العناصر اللي صعدهم اتجهوا لانديه كبيره في الدوري الانجليزي، بالاضافه لعطاءاتهم مع المنتخب. نعم، المنتخب الانجليزي ما حقق نجاحات، ولكن الاسماء اللي كانت موجوده اشرف عليهم في بداياته. من ضمن هذه الاسماء فرانك لامبرت، والمقابله الشهيره كان في اعتقاد واضح من الجماهير والصحافه على هذا اللاعب، وقالوا لهاري ريدناب بحكم قرابتك معاه انت قاعد تدافع عنه، ولكن اثبت صحه كلامه. وشفنا فرانك لامبرت احد اساطير الدوري الانجليزي واسطوره مع نادي تشيلسي، هداف تاريخي، يعني مو معقوله لاعب وسط يسجل اكثر من 150 هدف في الدوري الانجليزي. بلا شك ما حد يقدر يقول هذا يقرب له ولا صله قرابه، خلاص اللاعب اثبت نفسه. بالاضافه ليوريو فرديناند اتجه لمانشستر يونايتد، احد الاساطير، احد اعظم المدافعين عبر التاريخ. جو كول ايضا كان له تاثير ايجابي مع المنتخب الانجليزي، ودائما نستذكر هدفه ببطوله كاس العالم 2006، بالاضافه لما قدمه مع تشيلسي خصوصا في بدايه مسيرته، ولكن بعده انهارت المسيره. كارك والاستمراريه الكبيره اللي شاهدناها مع توتنهام، مع وستهام، مع مانشستر يونايتد، هو احد المدربين اللي اشرف عليهم، بالاضافه للنجوم الكبار، فبالتالي اعطى استمراريه لنادي وستهم، بالاضافه لتحقيقه لبطوله كاس الانترتوتو، ايضا انجاز كبير يحسب له. نادي برمنغهام ايضا صعدهم لغايه الدوري الانجليزي، حقق معاهم بطوله كاس الاتحاد الانجليزي، واكيد هذا انجاز يحسب له. نادي بورتسموث ايضا حقق معاهم بطوله الكاس، صعدهم للدوري الانجليزي مرتين، فبالتالي انجازات كبيره لهذا المدرب. ما راح احرق عليكم الحلقه، اخذنا بعض القصص وبعض الطرائف مع هذا المدرب. صراحه روح انجليزيه جميله، بارد ولكن يعطيك قصص حلوة. فخلونا نشوف اللقاء ونرجع لكم. Hello Harry, how are you? I hope you are doing well. It's really great pleasure to have you here.
Good, yeah, I'm doing good, and it's a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to talk about your career at Portsmouth. It's an incredible career. You have won a trophy there, and during your run to the trophy, you have won at Old Trafford against Man United. So what a win that was. Tell us more about it.
Yes, it was a great cup run. We went all the way to Wembley and won the FA Cup. We had to go to Old Trafford, which is never easy to win. But yeah, we managed to do it. I went there with West Ham as well and knocked Man United out the FA Cup one season. So yeah, I had some great games with Manchester United when I was at Tottenham, Portsmouth, everywhere. West Ham. It was always tough games going to Alex Ferguson's team, but they were great days. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. And during your career, you had a great player like Soli Ali Muntari. He was a great player. At the same time, Inter Milan were negotiating him. They tried to get him there, and you have even said that you wanted him to stay since he's a star. So, Harry, how did you deal with that situation?
Well, Sully was a smashing player. I had lots of good players in that Portsmouth team. Sully Montori, Lisana Diarra. Lisana Diarra was an amazing player. You know, Patrick Berger. So many good players up to Sol Campbell, who's the captain, England centre half. So, but no, Sully he eventually went to Milan, but I left anyway. I went to Tottenham, and Sully moved on and went to play at Milan. So it was a good move for him. He was a great player for me.
Yeah. And we remember that you have defended Lampard. We remember that press conference where a fan was asking questions about Frank Lampard when he was young at West Ham. But you defended him, and what a legend he has become after that.
Yeah, it was, but what he had a fantastic attitude. He trained like nobody I'd ever seen. Every day after training, he would be on the training ground 2 hours after everybody else had gone home. He would still be doing his sprints, doing his shooting, practicing. He just wanted to be a top footballer. And, when someone has that attitude and that desire, you have to believe that they're going to make it. And that's what he did. It was incredible to watch how he improved and improved and improved. So it's a lesson to any footballer. If you want to do it and you work hard, and Harry Kane was the same at Tottenham. Every day after training, he'd spend an hour practicing. Jermaine Defoe, if you work hard and want to practice, you can become anything. So, and that's what Frank did. He became a great player.
Yeah, and then Michael Carrick, Rio Ferdinand, they were really young English players at your time, and you have improved them, and they have been really top players.
Yeah, Joe Cole played in that youth team. Jermaine Defoe, Glenn Johnson, they all went on to become great players, all the England internationals. But they all had good attitudes. They were good kids who wanted to be players. And they trained and worked hard. They listened. They wanted to learn. And that is important.
Yeah, and then you had Di Canio. Di Canio is one great player, but I mean, it's really difficult to deal with him.
Oh, he was fantastic. What a player. He was a genius. I love Paolo. In fact, I'm going to see him tomorrow night. He's down here in Bournemouth. He's coming down to do a speech in a theatre, and I'm going to go along and have a cup of tea with him and have a chat with him.
Yeah, tell him hi from Malik.
I will, yeah. Paolo was amazing. He was fantastic.
But I remember that game against Bradford. Yeah. Tell us about what happened exactly.
Well, he kept getting, they should have been penalties. The referee wouldn't give him a penalty. He kept getting, and when you look at the video, every one of them is a penalty. But he just, I don't know, maybe the referee didn't like Di Canio. He wouldn't give him a penalty. And then the last time Paolo came over and he said, I don't play no more. I come off. He sat on the floor, put his hands on his, and he said, boss, I'm not playing. The referee. So anyway, eventually the crowd started singing his name. He got up and off he went, and he scored a goal, and then he scored a penalty. He was a fantastic talent, and we won the game. So Paolo will always be special for me. I loved him.
And since you are going to see him at Bournemouth, you were a manager at Bournemouth, and Jamie at the same time was there. He was really young player, great, and then he has been to Liverpool and he has become a great player. So what was the deal with him at the club?
Well, as a schoolboy, when he left school, he could have gone to anywhere, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, but he wanted to play league football rather than going to one of the big clubs and maybe not playing, being in the youth team. He said, look, I want to play first team football if I come to Bournemouth. So in the end, I wanted him to go to Tottenham, but he came to Bournemouth and he got in the team at 16. And then Kenny Dalglish, and wanted to take him to Liverpool. And at first we said, no, look, Kenny wants to stay. He wants to play. And Kenny said he will play. If he comes to Liverpool, I'm going to pick him. He'll be in the team. He was only 17. And then Kenny left. And then Graham Souness came in. So it took a little bit of time. Graham didn't know him. But eventually, I think when he was 18, he got in the first team at Liverpool. So, yeah, it was a great club to go to. Liverpool's a fantastic football club.
Yeah, and Harry, to manage two rivals in a short time, Southampton and Portsmouth. So what was the reaction from fans? I mean, they were angry.
Crazy. Oh, my God. It was a crazy decision. It's a crazy thing to do looking back on it. It wasn't a clever idea. Yeah, I had an argument with my chairman. I walked out at Portsmouth, and then a week later I was in at Southampton. And then the following year I went back to Portsmouth. Yeah, it wasn't easy. The fans that they don't like each other. They want to kill each. It's crazy atmosphere. But so it was difficult, but we survived.
Yeah. And for your career at Tottenham, Robbie Keane has been to Liverpool for like 6 months and he come back again. I mean, if he stayed at Liverpool, maybe they will have a more chance to win the league.
Robbie was great. I love Robbie. He was a great player for me and a great character, a great personality. And so, yeah, I like buying players that I know. I know if you know the character of the player and you work with him, it's great. You can take him to another club. I did it with Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch, Nico Cranchar. They're all players that played for me. And then when I moved, I took them with me because I knew they were good players and good people, good professionals.
Yeah, and I remember an incident with Arsene Wenger when one of your players, Paolo, asked for number 10 before the game started. So
Paolo Futre before the game, yeah. I mean, Paolo Futre was one of the world's great footballers, but he'd always been number 10, like Maradona, like Platini, like Pele. He was number 10. He didn't want to wear number 16, but we had squad numbers, and so we couldn't change it. But it caused a big problem at the time, for sure, you know. But yeah, I have great respect for him. He was a fantastic footballer, Paolo Futre.
Yeah, and did Arsene Wenger agreed for the number 10?
No, we couldn't change the shirt number, but he let me. He didn't play that day. He wouldn't play, so I had to make a substitution after we already put the team sheet in. We had to change the team, and we had to get the permission of the opposing manager, Arsene Wenger, that I could make a different player on the team sheet. So yeah, he agreed to that. So yeah, you know, I'm sure I would have agreed to it as well. You don't want to play. How can you play against 10 men? You know, it's crazy before the game even starts.
Yeah, he thought maybe it's mind games.
Yeah, he thought it was mind games. Yeah, no, it wasn't mind games. Paolo disappeared. He went back to Portugal, but he came back again after. So it all got sorted in the end.
Yeah, and bonuses of the players. Players are always asking for bonuses during their time. I mean, when the striker asking for bonuses, I mean, they were signed to score goals, so why would they ask for bonuses?
Yeah, Jermaine Defoe. Yeah, when I signed Jermaine Defoe, it was funny. His mum, she wanted a goal bonus, and I said, "Why do you think we're paying him all this money to miss him?" So that's why we were paying him big wages. But no, it was okay in the end. We sorted it out, and he signed for Portsmouth. He was a good player, Jermaine Defoe. I loved him.
Yeah, but the deadline days during the transfer window, it's always top days when you are there. I mean, when you are in the car and the window is open and you keep telling the stories. Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, I always spoke to the reporters, but I had some great players, you know, some interesting transfer deadline days, but no, they were good times. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Odom Wingy, do you remember when he has traveled to QPR?
Yeah, that was a shame. I talked because we were trying to get the deal done at Queen's Park Rangers. So I said to him, look, come down, go to a hotel. So if we agree a fee, because the deadline's running out, we haven't even spoke to him about money or anything. So he came down, but instead of going to a hotel, him and his agents drove straight to the football ground, and the cameras were there. And the chairman of West Bromwich Albion's watching the TV, and Odowingi's player is pulling up at the football ground. So he wasn't very pleased. So the transfer got cancelled.
Yeah. And during your time at Tottenham, it's really great career. Everyone praises it. We all remember it. But you are really unlucky in your last season, I mean, to get the 4th place and Chelsea win the Champions League.
Yeah.
To get the spot for it.
Yeah, we finished 4th. Chelsea won the Champions League that year, so we didn't make the Champions League. So that was a big disappointment. That was my last season at Tottenham, yeah. But no, I had a great time. I had good players at Tottenham. Luka Modric was an amazing footballer. Gareth Bale. I had great players. Really good team. Really good players.
Yeah, and how did you deal with Gareth Bale? I mean, you got the best out of him. we were really shocked during your time at Tottenham with Gareth Bale performance.
Oh, he was an amazing player. You know, he had everything. He could run, he could shoot, he could dribble, he could head it. He was just a fantastic footballer. Him and Luka Modric were two of the best players I ever worked with. They were incredible. Luka Modric was an amazing footballer, amazing professional. Two great players.
Yeah, and I remember one interview for you during your time at Jordan. You said that future is bright, and now Jordan have reached the final of the Asian Cup, in Qatar.
Amazing, yeah. What a great performance from Jordan to achieve that. I'm so pleased for him. You know, it was a really, really great achievement.
Yeah, and Harry, my last question is about Muslim players fasting during Ramadan. If you can recall that, how did you deal with that in that time?
Well, it's a religion. You have to accept that. That's, you know, what. So yeah, that was part of. If it's someone's religion, you have to respect that. So it wasn't a problem, you know. It wasn't a problem. When you I signed the player, like, you knew that was his religion, and you knew that Ramadan he would fast. So you that's the way it is. No problem.
Yes, Harry, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, nice talking to you too. And I really enjoyed it. And personally, I have always watched you. And my dad is as a journalist as well. When you have become the manager of Tottenham and started to getting results, the managers normally say, we don't have a magic wand. So my dad said, Harry Potter is at Tottenham now.
Listen, anytime you want to ring me, ring me. If I can help you anytime, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really nice of you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
طبعا هاللقاء برعاية فاموس. فاموس استخدموا كود الخصم، جودة عالية من أفضل محلات التيشيرتات، وبالنسبة لي الأفضل، يستاهلون كل خير فاموس، وخلوكم تابعينهم. راح احط لكم رابط فاموس في الديسكربشن، وادخلوا على موقعهم وشوفوا اللي تبونه، واكيد فاموس ما راح يقصرون معاكم. لا تنسون كود الخصم وتستاهلون كل خير.
يلا سوبر شو يبدا. هذا الليفر يا السادة، هذه الحمرة يا السادة، يا كاتب التاريخ لا تغلق الصفحات.
الأساطير يصفقون، ريال مدريد يقدم لوحة تليق به